Hi, my name is Peter Manning. The growing landfill dumps have negative effects on the environment because they have dreadful odours which affect the option of housing or economy nearby. They can spread diseases through the rats that roam there and the germs that grow there, among other things. Unclean water. Water areas that have more waste correlate to an increased bloom in algae growth. These excessive algae and plant growth in water reduces oxygen levels in the water, and these suffocate plants and animals. These areas are uninhabitable for marine life. Solid general waste, along with plastics and metal floating in the ocean, can be ingested by aquatic animals, causing them to suffocate. Particularly plastics cause the harm due to build-up in the oceans as they don't degrade for a long time, not to mention the release of toxic chemicals from the waste spreading through the oceans. Not all of our recycling is actually being recycled. If the rubbish is too small, it falls through the machinery at the factories. More importantly, the contaminated plastics can't be used again, so a lot of these things go into landfills. There are numbers on plastic from 1 to 7 on how reusable they are, 1 being the most reusable and 7 the least. Things like paper cups or cardboard packaging are more easily recycled than plastic bottles, for example. Whilst incineration has its advantages for reducing general waste by up to 90%, it also has its disadvantages in the air pollution it causes. There are toxins from the ash left there from the incinerator. The acid gases and nitrogen oxide emitted from the chimney are airborne particles, which cause human breathing problems such as asthma. At the worst case, the dioxins released are carcinogenic and cause multiple other health problems such as cancer. There is also the potential of these toxins getting into our ecosystems, in our soil, our food, our produce, and eventually into the human digestive system. Despite these negative effects of black waste, there is effort being made to reduce the amount of waste and implement better ways of getting rid of it in an environmentally friendly fashion. This concludes our short presentation of black waste. I'm of course Peter Manning, and I'll see you guys next time.
Pollution is the introduction of harmful materials into the environment. These harmful materials are known as pollutants. Pollutants damage the quality of air, water, and land, and they're created by human activity like littering, agriculture, or waste produced by factories. Currently, over 75% of the land area on Earth is degraded to some degree. If we keep going at the current trend rate of pollution, it is estimated to be 95% by 2050. Landfills and non-biodegradable agricultural pesticides are some of the most common problems contributing to the degradation of the Earth's land. These poison the surrounding natural habitats, putting innocent wildlife at risk. Out of the 8.3 billion tonnes of plastic ever made, 6.3 billion tonnes have become waste on land and in our oceans. Plastic accounts for 60 to 95% of waste found in the ocean, and there are currently 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic in our oceans. It's only increasing each year. Plastics are the biggest killer of marine life as they can be ingested and cause suffocation. Air pollution from burning fossil fuels for transport, cities, and industrial emissions releases greenhouse gases. These degrade the quality of the air and in turn pose a health threat to humans. One of these gases is methane. It traps heat more effectively than carbon dioxide, making it one of the most harmful greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. And in Ireland, we have the highest output per capita of methane gas in the EU due to our agriculture industry. So, what can you do to help? As individuals, we can recycle packaging where possible, compost biodegradable materials, and consume locally sourced fresh foods. Our options are growing with the popularity of electric cars, the ease of using bikes and public transport, particularly in cities. Dublin is even currently undergoing an operation to make the city only accessible by bike or public transport. We should also pressure companies to make an effort to use renewable energy and reduce and filter their emissions, using incentives like sanctions and grants. If we stay on this path, the Earth will be destroyed, and humanity and wildlife will continue to suffer. If we make the effort, we can turn this around and save our planet. And the dolphins.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Eco Watch on PBL TV. Today we were going to focus on the environment and in particular the key issues of pollution, recycling and composting. Water pollution and plastic waste are among the top environmental concerns for Irish households. Figures released by the Central Statistics Office show that 79% of Irish households rate water pollution as their top concern, while 74% rated plastic waste as the most urgent concern. Almost half of Ireland's rivers have unsatisfactory water quality levels due to high concentrations of polluting nitrogen, according to new analysis. The main threat to the water quality is high levels of nitrogen and phosphorus arising from agricultural waste and water discharge. These nutrients affect our water body's ecosystem, causing algae blooms that displace other flora and fauna. High nitrate levels in drinking water supplies pose a risk to human health. Ireland is producing the highest volume of plastic waste per person in the EU, while having the fourth worst recycling rate of firm material according to the latest European statistics. The quantity of plastic entering the world's ocean, already estimated to be 11 million tonnes every year, could triple in the next 20 years according to new research by the Pew Charitable Trust. It found that without immediate and sustained action, the colossal annual flow of plastic into the ocean could devastate ecosystems around the planet. If nothing is done, the overall quantity of plastic pollution could reach 600 million tonnes by 2040, the equivalent of more than 3 million blue whales, or representative of 50 kgs of plastic on each metre of coastline worldwide. New figures published by the Environmental Protection Agency show that in Ireland, about 70% of plastic waste is burned instead of recycled. As the country attempts to get to grips with the 2030 emissions reduction targets set out in the recently signed climate bill, this data shows a mere 28% of plastic generated was recycled. The data also indicates the increase in plastic packaging recycled is an offset by an even greater increase in the amount of packaging waste being generated and incinerated, and as a result, Ireland's recycling rates have shown a generally declining trend since 2013. According to the EPA Office of Environmental Sustainability Director Sharon Finnegan, a circular economy is one that is based on less waste and more reuse of materials. These trends show Ireland is going in the wrong direction. Our rising levels of waste are unsustainable and need to stop. Systemic change is needed across all economic sectors to shift the focus to designing out waste and promoting reuse and recycling. 1/3 of the food we buy ends up in the bin, costing the average Irish household around €700 each year. Composting organic waste has many benefits over landfill, namely a reduction in the volume of waste. Composting is an aerobic process and therefore produces carbon dioxide, whereas landfill is a mainly anaerobic process producing methane. And composted has the potential to be used as both a fertilizer and horticultural growing medium. The Environmental Protection Agency has published a National Hazardous Waste Management Plan for the Republic of Ireland, covering a 6-year period from 2021 to 2027. It sets out the priorities to be pursued over the next 6 years and beyond to improve the prevention and management of hazardous waste. The purpose of this plan is to protect the environment and human health in Ireland through best practice management of hazardous wastes.
A study taken 2 years ago by the Central Statistics Office shows that as a country, Ireland has the second highest greenhouse gas emissions per person in the European Union. As the planet faces into one of the biggest challenges of its existence in the form of climate change, we take a look at Ireland's role in the preservation and conservation of the country's biodiversity and various ecosystems, and how there is a need for more progressive measures to be taken As an island and with large areas of the country covered in lakes and rivers, the issue of water pollution is extremely important. Ireland boasts an impressive 7,000 kilometres of coastline and over 12,000 lakes. It's higher than the European average. However, over half of the monitored lakes in the country are described as having moderate or worse water quality. This is caused by eutrophication, where excess nitrogen and phosphorus from the land overloads the aquatic environment beyond natural levels. The conservation of wildlife such as birds is a major concern, while only 5 of the 59 total habitat types in the country are deemed to be in favourable condition. Ireland also faces major issues surrounding recycling. Data collected by the EPA shows that only 28% of plastic in Ireland is recycled, while the remaining 72% is sent to be incinerated. According to a Eurostat report, Ireland is said to have the highest plastic waste generation in the EU. These figures showcase the work that still needs to be done to improve biodiversity and recycling in Ireland, which in turn will have a positive impact on the country's overall greenhouse gas emissions figure per person.
Our environment is constantly at the edge of danger due to suspicious human activity across the globe. We deal with a new issue every day, or they progressively get worse by the minute. And one of these issues, being said, is pollution, specifically air pollution. Air pollution is the contamination of the indoor-outdoor environment that, by any agent, changes the atmosphere. Air pollution is also caused by solid and liquid particles and certain gases that are suspended in the air. So burning fossil fuels releases gases and chemicals into the air. You most likely contribute to this nonsense. Whether it be driving to the shop, that's usually a 5-minute walk, or burning garbage in a bonfire. But it's not too late to better our lives, and our children's lives. Take a walk, quit using petrol-powered gardening equipment, and use the damn recycling bin. Speaking of recycling, you should really do more of that. I'm serious, the bins are not enough. Use rechargeable batteries, get yourself a coffee cup to reuse, recycle the old and decrepit loads of Monster cans that are piling up in your TV stand. Zero subtext. Better yet, clean your room and recycle whatever you decide to get rid of. And tell your dad to get rid of the damn newspaper. He's not saving it for later. He is a slob. Reuse plastic bags when you're shopping, or upcycle your mess somehow. The clock app might teach you some useful things, but I don't know how you live or who you are for that matter. The point is, recycle your nonsense. You use them every day, and yet you still decide to use the black bin directly in front of your house instead of walking halfway through your neighborhood to use the green one. And while you're at it, you know you don't actually have to throw your food in the black bin. Well, first off, finish your food. Respect your elders. But in any other circumstances, you should consider composting. Not only is it less wasteful, but it reduces the need of chemical fertilizers in your garden. Your soil structure would have the correct amount of moisture, nutrients, and air. So, maybe instead of being a piece of human garbage, think about how you want to live the rest of your life. Literally, you decided to shorten your lifespan just because spitting gum on the floor was easier than taking a piece of tissue, spitting into it, and throwing it into the correct bin that's literally 5 minutes away from you in Dublin City. Just a thought. Just a thought.